The next generation iPhone SE could be coming as soon as next week, according to Bloomberg's Mark Gurman. Apple isn't expected to hold an event for the iPhone SE 4, but will instead unveil the device through a press release, with the phone being available later this month. Gurman suggests that Apple will unveil the iPhone SE 4 around the same time as the new Powerbeats Pro 2 earbuds, which Apple is expected to unveil as soon as February 11th. So, with the new iPhone potentially on the horizon here, let's quickly go over everything that we can expect to see in the latest budget iPhone from Apple. Now, when it comes to the design, the last generation iPhone SE borrowed many design elements from the iPhone 8. I mean, it basically was an iPhone 8 with upgraded internals. The large top and bottom bezels were still there. You had a Touch ID home button, a single lens camera on the back. Now, this next iPhone SE is actually expected to be pretty much an iPhone 14, which will now give you Face ID instead of a Touch ID home button. The iPhone 15 lineup was the first time that Apple transitioned to USB-C instead of Lightning, and obviously the last generation iPhone SE had Lightning, so we're fully expecting a transition into a USB-C port. Now, a big difference between the iPhone 14 and the iPhone SE 4 that's upcoming is that the 14 had a dual lens camera, and the SE 4 is still expected to stick with a single lens camera system in order to keep the cost down. Now, a while ago, there were rumors suggesting that just like the iPhone 16 models, we would have an action button and a camera control button on the new iPhone SE, but it's looking like that's not the case after all. Leaked iPhone SE 4 dummy models do not feature an action button or a camera control button, and dummy models are usually an accurate representation of what we can expect from new iPhones because case makers do pay a lot of money to get that information. When it comes to the display, we can expect drastically reduced bezels compared to what we had in the previous generation. Apple will also retain the notch for this phone rather than go with the current dynamic island that's found on some of the newer iPhones. The iPhone SE is also the last remaining iPhone that had an LCD display, but this year it looks like we're finally bumping up to an OLED display. Apple has used OLED technology for flagship iPhones since the iPhone 12, and it looks like the next generation iPhone SE will also use that OLED technology rather than an LCD panel. If the iPhone SE 4 does indeed include an all OLED display, it will mean the end of LCD for the iPhone lineup, which is great because OLED is and has been very, very good. Now, earlier we mentioned a single lens camera on the back, but it could be an upgraded 48 megapixel sensor, so that's going to be new, and it won't be what we had previously, which was a 12 megapixel sensor. So expect a pretty drastic upgrade in terms of the main and only sensor on the iPhone SE 4. As for internal specifications, the iPhone SE is expected to have the same A18 chip that's currently found in the iPhone 16, which will also allow support for Apple Intelligence. A leaker who has provided reliable information in the past recently said that the iPhone SE 4 is to be equipped with the T8140 chip, an identifier that does indeed correspond with the A18. We can also expect that to have a minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM in order to support those Apple Intelligence features. The next generation iPhone SE is also expected to be the first device that is equipped with an Apple-designed 5G chip. Apple has been working on its own modem chip for several years in an effort to lessen its reliance on Qualcomm. And finally, there was a rumor that suggested this phone could actually be renamed to the iPhone 16e, but the information has not been confirmed by a reliable source. But I did just want to throw that out there because I think that would be an interesting wrinkle to the iPhone lineup that we currently have, which is the 16, the 16 Plus, then the 16 Pro and Pro Max. To position this as a lower cost current iPhone 16 as opposed to a standalone budget model like we have in years past with the SE name is actually pretty interesting. So I'd love to hear from you on what you think in the comments down below. If the phone does indeed get announced next week, we could expect it to be still under that $500 price tag, but it could be getting around a 10% price bump, so it'll probably sit at around $479, up from $429 from years past. So what do you think about the upcoming iPhone SE? I would love to hear from you in the comments down below, especially if you're thinking about picking one up once it's announced. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.